Hey, good morning, everyone. Melissa here. Just starting my morning. Um, so I want to talk about where I've been. I've been looking at pro-life guys. I've been kind of following them off and on when I've had time. I also have been looking at other stuff, and it's really important that girls have mentors, and I want to talk about that today. When I first became a Christian, way back, I had been taken to church, and I didn't really think I would be going to church. I mean, someone invited me and I said, you know what? I am not religious. I mean, I really was like, no way. I had met this woman in a hair salon when I was working there as I was in hairdressing school. And I thought she was weird. Her and her friends invited me to a Bible study. They were having a picnic. So yeah, free food. I went, and it was after this that I had been invited to church. But I did think this woman was super nice, and that's what attracted me to going to her picnic. Very nice. And I think that's the way it works. It's the kindness that people see in you that draws them to Christ. And then when I went to church, I had, whoops, my other phone's going off. Okay, so I had gone to church and I had taken, I went to church, and this person didn't think the people was friendly. They were friendly. I thought that it was fine. I mean, I wasn't looking for friendly people. And I thought they were good enough to go back. And when I went back again, I went by myself, and I had a stroller, and my firstborn son, I just walked to the church in the stroller. I used to walk a lot with my kids. And I went in and I shared that I had heard the gospel, and it made sense, and I was saved. So from there, having that zeal without any knowledge in my family, just thinking, my favorite uncle was like, Melissa got religion. Oh my goodness. And I think they all thought I was weird in a way, but, my uncle and I did later on talk about God. Shortly before he died, I did, a few times get in there with him, and we really talked about stuff, which was great. And anyways, that relationship was good enough where even if he thought I had lost my mind being a Christian, he was still okay with me. So there was this woman that I really admired. She had 5 kids, and she homeschooled. And as she was one of the first ones to reach out to me. She just came up to me and she was like, oh, what a cute little baby. And we started talking, and this was Connie, and I had no idea who she was, or that she was renowned in her own circles as being a really godly woman. So as we connected, we started walking together, and by then I had my second one, and later on my third one. So we had a long process of discipleship, and I would be able to ask her anything. I was able to ask her, all kinds of questions about God, and really get to know what kind of God we had. Because my view of God was different than what I had really learned about God. Anywhere from a Santa Claus who gives you anything you want to a stern and distant God was my view of God. So then, as we were always walking, and I went over to her house, and she had put on at the church a MOPS class, Mothers of Preschool Children, which was really popular at the time. And this was a great class for me as a new mom, because what happened was I was able to understand things in the Bible. Like, I had never heard that you can actually, teach your kids to be respectful, be kind, love God, on and on. She had many teachings about training your kids up. And I had never heard of this. This was weird to me. Like, why would you train your kids up? I mean, what do you mean you train your kids? You always think of like, training a dog, but you actually can teach your kids, some things and work with them. And she had tapes, and I had listened to her tapes over and over and over again on my own time when I walked to understand a biblical point of view of parenting. So I was really lucky to be mentored by her, and then later on I had mentorship all the way up. I had another lady who came alongside me, and we didn't have much money at all, and she would help me with ideas to help me be frugal. And then one time she had let me take the leftovers from her garden. I forget the technical word I'm thinking of, but just gleaning, that's the word. Glean from her garden whatever they didn't want. And that was a big help at the time. And then cherry picking is something that she introduced me to at the grocery store, going to different grocery stores and picking what's on sale. Unfortunately, that ended up being a lot when I had young kids in tow. And later on, I just found it easier to pick one grocery store that was the cheapest and get most of my stuff there, or look at the flyers and get what's on sale. That's what her family did. And then I had another lady who was a mentor to me. She was another person who had a lot to offer. And let me see, then there was there was a group of ladies that I was with who we talked about different things in life, different things you go through, and wounds, and how to heal from that. And then there was a CareNet class with women, which talked about healing from abortion. And let's see, what else is going on? So just, meeting other people along the way. There were a couple people who, there was one person who wrote a book that I was able to kind of be in those circles for a little bit there. Let me see, what else? I know I'm missing somebody. Well, not to mention all the books I've read. Tons and tons of books all the way up on how to homeschool and Christianity, and, Bible studies. I've taken tons of Bible studies. And if you work at it, it's there. I mean, you can really turn your life around with working at things. So mentorship is really important in life. It really helps you to be able to go up to people and say, let me throw this at you. What do you think of this? And what do you think of this? And then, let me see, there's been mentorship when I've been on the sidewalks, kind of what different people do when they're reaching out to girls. There's been, mentorship even in my Instagram, reaching out to different groups with different thoughts on stuff. So if we're willing to put in the time every single day, and it's something that I try to do on a regular basis, I try to make sure I get time in to hear what other voices are saying and be able to teach myself and incorporate and implement that in my life on a regular basis. So I'm always growing, always learning, and always trying to better myself. And I think that's something that if women want that, we can definitely learn to educate ourselves in our personal life quite a bit. And I know many women talk about education and getting, the career and the degrees, but many times you can be educated right in your community and be willing to put that education into your person. And that's something that really doesn't go away. I mean, and I'm not against getting an education as far as classes. As I said, I graduated early from high school, and then I homeschooled. And I do believe in education, but when we talk about education, what kind of education are we talking about? I think education should be used to disciple people and help them better themselves in life and train them in ways that brings, them closer to God. Any education, I think, is something that should bring us to God. There's no point of being a fool with a great education. God talks about those who don't believe in him are actually called fools. So when you go get your degrees and you have no foundation in him, I mean, that's what he's calling you, because you didn't look after your soul first. And I think it's really biblical to think of, in one of the parables, Jesus talks about the man who built. I mean, he had these barns and they were filled with riches. And he had all this stuff, and, he sat back and he looked at everything he had done with his own hands and just had so much pride. And there is a sense of feeling good about your accomplishments, but the one thing he forgot was to look after his soul. And, what good is it if a man has the whole world but doesn't think about his soul, where you're going to spend eternity? So when you build that way, when God can take your soul that night, you're really not building on a strong foundation. Any foundation is really going to be built on the work of Christ, his saving work in dying and saving us from hell, and walking and getting to know who the person of Christ was and is, and the work of Christ. I mean, what was he like? What was his teachings? His teachings, the Sermon on the Mount. I mean, those teachings are pretty vital in life to know. So we want to definitely take time to know who Christ was, and he is the best, mentor that anyone could have. He discipled. He had 12 disciples, and he taught them what they needed to know, and he did a lot of one-on-one, heart-to-heart discipleship. And that's what I think of too when we are raising our children. A lot of it is just communication. It's just talking, trying to get to the heart of things, and really bringing them to Christ is the main goal of parenting. And hopefully our children want that, but they do have their own choice and where they're going to go in life, and that is their choice. But yeah, so mentorship is really important, and I just want to share that right now. As we're hearing different voices in the pro-life movement, I'm hoping that, it's something that I can do in my life to help girls want motherhood, to be not deceived with all the information out there. So that's my goal, as I, work on myself and educate myself in this area better.